Hey everybody, glad you can join us today. We are at a house in Verona, New Jersey, right by Kip's Castle, which is another cool thing that we could talk about at another time. The client's father has moved out. She grew up here. Her name is Dana, and we're going to take some stuff out of the house to sell for her at our next curated sale, which should hammer down in the beginning of December. So there's a lot of cool things here. Her parents were collectors, so let's go on in and take a look. Here we go.
Hey, Cosmo, say hello. Come on in.
This is Dana. We're going to come in and we're going to take a little walk around the house with her and see what's going. Now, like I said before, Dana's parents were collectors, and this is where she grew up, so there's so much cool stuff around. And we're just going to go room to room, and we could possibly ask some questions and see what we got.
This is where my dad had his office. It was he was a sailor, had a lot of nautical objects, as we can see.
When we're looking at stuff, there's different collectible areas, and the nautical stuff is a really, really strong collectible area. But we always have to watch out for size with stuff. Like, we are definitely going to take this binnacle today. The one thing we're going to see, so we don't have to move it, is this gorgeous cutter here.
So he found this. It was a museum was getting rid of it because it was too costly to repair. And my dad bought it and found this, I call them this little old couple, like they lived in a shoe. This is actually a piece of the U.S. Constitution.
Right. So we got to see if we can, and always with stuff like this is really tough for the provenance. A lot of people say they have a piece, so we're going to have to figure out what we're going to exactly do with this and try, but it is marked. And I don't have my glasses on, but it does say material from the U.S. Constitution. I can choose the binoculars to put myself on. Strangely enough, I think that would work.
Bought this at an antique show, and we really loved the subject, and it was from an artist and this and that, but there was always a story behind each piece. I mean, he really could remember the stories along, like which items he bought it.
And I think that's mostly what we're doing now. When we're buying these objects, it's not like, hey, this is a piece of bronze. Well, what's the story behind it? And that's what's interesting about all these different objects, because people that are involved in antiques and appraisers, we're like the scribes of today, because when you look at a piece and you can say, who made it, when was it made, why was it made, and whether that goes for the fine art stuff that's fine. The difference between the fine art and the decorative art is the fine art stuff is just made for the aesthetic. It doesn't really have any purpose. So besides being beautiful, which is a good purpose, but it doesn't have utilitarian purpose. So art, when we're talking about like paintings and bronzes, as opposed to talking about a vase or a piece of furniture, is decorative art because it does have a utilitarian purpose. We're here in the entry foyer, which has these cool stained glass windows that your father had commissioned?
Yeah, so my dad actually was, as a surgeon, actually had a very artistic vision. And these were basic paned glass windows like those, and he wanted something different. So he came up with an idea and drawed and sketched these ribbons with ivy, and had a Montclair artist, stained glass artist, commission them. And
you think for an artist and a doctor, like there's two different sides of your brain, right? So he has them both. He's a surgeon, and then you can sit down and draw this out is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
These Corinthian capitals on the top here. This is just really great. We're mixing a bunch of different styles here, but it's really cool. It's got the rest of this kind of has this like arts and crafts motif to it, but having this classical stuff mixed in, and it really helps the piece out. Again, something this size, we're going to see how we do in a house sale with it, and if it doesn't go through the house sale, I mean, this is something we just it may not do amazing at auction, but I mean, we just can't let this just go in a dumpster.
It into a dumpster.
No way. You know what I mean? It looks like McDonald, not Ronald McDonald, but I have to look it up to see. Just the flow and the movement. I can't find we'll find a signature on it, but this is one of the bigger pieces we'd say. But this is a good bronze because, you know, something static of someone just standing there isn't very exciting. It's easier to do. Something like this, where you can see the motion in it, you can just see the hands, you can see the musculature. You know, it's just a great piece. Now we're going to go upstairs up this grand staircase to the second floor.
This staircase was so much fun. Like as a kid, you always felt you were going up with Gone with the Wind. This is another piece from St. Joe's Hospital. This was one of the stained glass windows in the chapel that he purchased or donated because he just loved the subject, and he just felt that it would just bring so much like color into his life. And my dad and mom really loved art and fine art people, and just loved glass and colors and light. So this just seemed to fit. Like it honestly
It looks like it's supposed to be there.
It fit this window
Yeah.
perfectly. I mean, there was no modification here. This was my dad's study. He didn't study much in here, but he used it as a room that he would just kind of come and maybe do some paperwork or just reflect and relax, look outside, look out to the garage. That piece is kind of interesting. Dad and Mom picked that up at an antique show. Yeah, that's really beautiful, and it does light up. I don't know how to get to it, but
the cool thing also is we can see these beads over these over the bare light bulbs is something when people had bare light bulbs when all this light bulby electricity started, they were using those beads and to cover as
like a shade.
Yeah, like a shade and as decoration. This lamp over here with the mica shades, really cool. You know, it's a whole classic early 20th century thing, but then the mica shade usually wouldn't be cut like that. So that's really modern for the time and kind of cool the way that's cut. So we're definitely going to take that for sale. We have this great wave crest vase. Wave crest was known for making copper vases with the patina on it. And then they would also use silver. Heinz was another metal art company that would do this also in the early 20th century. So this is a really cool piece with these palms and birds.
So my mom and dad found this server, and it just had a mirror behind it, and it was something that someone used in a dining room, and they really liked the piece. And my mom had found this fabulous Mylar wallpaper, which you have to get a picture of, which is all seashells. And the same artist that commissioned the downstairs front foyer doors did the same stained glass for us, based on the shells and like sea life. And it just was always a great piece in the house. And it was like something she was always very proud of, because they actually designed it together, as well as having somebody commission the art that matched the wallpaper.
That's great, because usually there's just a mirror here, so this is certainly cool. And it's great when somebody even you talk about upcycling stuff, when people are taking things and painting or whatever. I mean, they upcycled this years and years ago, before upcycling was even a thing.
I wouldn't know what upcycling was.
So they're like, hey, let's put this stained glass here instead of the mirror, and it looks really cool. We want to thank everybody for watching, and just remember, when we get back to the gallery, we're going to open everything up and we're going to do a deep dive into some of the pieces. All these things will be in our curated sale for the beginning of December. The hammer will go down, and we have
I just want to say that the house is in Verona. There will be a house sale here on the 15th and 16th. And thank you, Jason, for being part of this. This has been an exciting adventure, and really fortunate to have someone like you help me walk through all of this stuff. It's a little emotional, but it's certainly been most helpful with you. By the way, the dog is not up for auction.
Well, thank you, for having us here. Thank you for opening up. I know it's when you're going through a process like this, it's really hard. It's very emotional. It's financial. It's physical, and helping us to go through everything was really great. And look at estatesales.net for the sale on the 15th and 16th of October, and in Verona. And we hope to see you there, and then we hope to see you at the auction. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
One thing I noticed when I was walking through here the other day, just out with the stuff in the yard, and this is totally not a setup, was this. This is from a department store in Chicago, but the big deal of it is that it was designed by Louis Sullivan, who was kind of like the father of skyscrapers. So this was part of, I forget the name of the department store. We'll look it up and I'll give you that information later. But you know, this should do pretty well. Sometimes when they're in better condition, they do a few $1,000s. But yeah, this is a balustrade. Could you imagine a department store having a bunch of these going up the staircase? So this is really cool. And you can see, I mean, again, not a setup. It's all dirty. We'll clean it up. And it's got this patina to it. But this is a beautiful architectural piece that we're definitely going to put in the sale.